Good morning, students. I welcome you to the 11th Standard Commerce class. And today we are going to see Chapter 9, Government Organization. Learning Objectives. To know the meaning of departmental undertaking, features, advantages, and its disadvantages. To know the meaning of public corporation, its features, advantages, and disadvantages. Next, to know the meaning of government company, features, and its advantages and disadvantages. Introduction. Public enterprise as a form of business organization gained economic importance in most of the countries of the world in recent years. During the 20th century, various governments started participating in industrial and commercial activities. Previously, the role of government was limited only to the maintenance of law and order. Industrial revolution helped all-round growth of industries. So the public enterprise, it is a form of business organization, that is, it is under the control of the government. It functions under the government. So previously, if you take, the role of government was just to maintain law and order. It was limited only to the maintenance of law and order in the country. So with the industrial revolution, there was a lot of development in industries. So private entrepreneurs, if you take, they were of what motive? Fully of profit motive. They wanted to earn more profit. So the consumers, the workers, they were exploited by these private entrepreneurs. So the government intervention became very necessary to safeguard the interest of the public. So the government, that is the public enterprises, came into existence. The government thus can own and control industry and business in two ways. First, by starting a new unit, and second, by taking over an existing industrial or commercial unit owned by private persons. So the government, it can own as well as control an industry by two ways. One is it can start a new unit, and second, it can take over an existing industrial unit which is owned by a private person. It is already owned by a private person. So that industry can be taken over by the government. So these are the two ways in which the government can own and control business or industry. Meaning and features of departmental undertaking. First, we'll see what is meant by departmental undertaking. Department form of organization of managing state enterprises is the oldest form of organization. Under departmental form of organization, a public enterprise is run as a separate, full-fledged ministry or as a subdivision of a department of the government. So departmental form of organization, it is oldest form of organization. So all the state enterprises, it comes under this department form of organization. And this department form of organization is under the ministry, or it is under the subdivision of a department of the government. For example, if you take the Indian Railways, it is managed by the Ministry of Railways. Or if you take Post and Telegraph Services, it comes under the Ministry of Communication. Same way, All India Radio, Doordarshan, the Delhi Milk Scheme, all these are examples of departmental undertaking. Features of departmental undertaking. Ultimate responsibility. The ultimate responsibility for the management of a departmental undertaking lies with the minister concerned. So the responsibility of the management of departmental undertaking is with the minister concerned. He is responsible to the parliament or the state legislature. So this minister, he delegates his authority to look into the various management levels of the departmental undertaking. Next, governmental financing. The departmental undertaking is financed through annual budget appropriation by the parliament or state legislature. So this departmental undertaking gets the financial support from the government. It is from the parliament or from the state legislature, as well as whatever revenue income they get from the departmental undertaking, it is paid to the government treasury. It is paid to the government treasury. Okay. The third feature is accounting and audit. The departmental undertaking is subject to the normal budgeting, accounting, and audit procedures which are applicable to all government departments. So, what are all the procedures followed by the government departments in budgeting, accounting, and auditing? The same procedure is followed by the departmental undertaking. And fourth feature, managed by civil servants. So the departmental undertaking is managed by civil servants who are subject to same service conditions as applicable to civil servants of the government. So same way, what are all the service condition available to the government servants, same is available to the civil servants of the departmental undertaking. The fifth feature is sovereign immunity. A departmental undertaking cannot be sued anybody without the consent of the government. So, the departmental undertaking cannot be sued anybody, cannot file a case without the approval of the government, without the permission of the government. The next topic we are going to see is the advantages of departmental undertaking. First one, easy formation. It is easy to set up a departmental undertaking. Yes, the departmental undertaking is easy to be formed because it is created by the decision of the government, and there is no need for legal formalities to form the departmental undertaking. So it is easy to set up a departmental undertaking. Second one, direct and control of parliament or state legislature. The departmental undertaking is directly responsible to the parliament or the state legislature through its overall head, that is the ministry concerned. So here this departmental undertaking is directly responsible to the parliament or to the state legislature because this is under the control of the ministry. Next, third advantage is secrecy maintained. Strategic industries like defense and atomic power cannot be better managed other than government departments. So some of the important departments like defense and atomic power, here the main thing is the secret should be maintained in these industries because it is concerned with the defense. So these departments can be managed by the well managed by the government departments. So departmental undertaking can maintain secrecy in their working. So these departments are under the departmental undertaking. Next one, the fourth advantage is lesser burden of tax on public. Earning of departmental undertaking are entirely paid into government treasury, resulting in that lesser tax burden on the public. So already we have seen that the financing for this departmental undertaking is done by the government. And next thing, whatever earning is got from this departmental undertaking, it goes into the government treasury. So here the tax on the public is reduced. The fifth advantage is instrument of social change. Government can promote economic and social justice through departmental undertaking. So government, it can develop the economic and social justice through this departmental undertaking. The sixth advantage is lesser risk of misuse of public money. As a departmental undertaking is subject to budgeting, account, and audit procedures of the government, the risk of misuse of public money is relatively less. So, we have already seen that the budgeting or the accounting or auditing, the same procedure is carried in the departmental undertaking as the government company. So here, because of that, there is less misuse of public money. The last one, guided by rules and regulations of the ministry. The officers of the departmental undertaking are under the supervision of the directive administrative control of the ministry. So here the officers, they are delegated by the concerned minister, and the rules and regulations that is put forth by the ministry. So there is direct control of these departmental undertaking by the ministry. So they have to follow the rules and regulation which are laid down, and these rules and regulation that focuses on the welfare of the public. The next topic we are going to see is disadvantages of departmental undertaking. The first one is red tapeism. There is too much of procedures which result in delay. So here this departmental undertaking is formed under the government control, under a separate ministry. Yes, so because of that, this undertaking has to follow the rules and regulations or the procedures which are put forth by the government. So for taking any decision, it takes a lot of time, and it affects the development or the promotion of the departmental undertaking. Second one, incidence of additional taxation. Losses incurred by a departmental enterprise are met by the treasury. So that is the departmental organization or the departmental undertaking, it is funded by the budget by the government, parliament or the state government, and whatever earning that comes from this departmental undertaking goes into the government treasury. So if there is any loss incurred by this departmental enterprise, it has to be made from the government treasury. So automatically what happens is the taxation is high, and that falls on the people. Third one, lack of competition. Civil servants are given control of these undertakings who may not have business outlook or commercial experience. So here the management of the departmental undertaking is done by the delegates of the minister. So here they may not have enough experience, business experience. So they carry on their work according to their own. So what happens because of that is they don't look into the welfare of the people. Casual approach to work. As the officers of the departmental undertaking are subject to frequent transfers, they develop a sense of casual approach to work. So these officers, they are the delegates of the ministers, and these officers are often transferred from one department to another department. So what happens is this affects the operational efficiency of the departmental undertaking. So these officers, they are very casual to the work. They don't take much interest So this affects the departmental undertaking. Next, government interference. There is an excessive of government interference and control in departmental organization. So this government, that is the departmental undertaking, it is formed by the under the control of the minister, and it is budgeted by the parliament or the state government. So here this departmental undertaking has to follow the rules and regulations, the procedures that is put forth by the government. So for each and everything it takes a lot of time. For any decision it takes a lot of time. So this is also one of the disadvantages of the departmental organization. Lack of professional management and fear of criticisms. A departmental undertaking is managed by civil servants who do not possess professional management skills. Moreover, these managers could not afford to be innovative because of a fear of criticisms by the ministers of parliament. So the officers, the civil servants who are delegated by the ministry, they don't have the professional management skills. They don't have knowledge about the commercial activities, business activities. And one more thing is they don't bring any new innovations in the company or in the organization, because there is a fear that they have to answer to the minister and to the concerned, that is to the parliament or to the state government. So this is one of the disadvantage of the that is the departmental undertaking. Next, financial dependence. A departmental undertaking is economically and financially dependent on government, the government's budgetary allocations. So here already we have seen in the feature that the departmental undertaking is budgeted by the parliament or the state government. So for any need of finance, the departmental undertaking depends upon the government. So this is another disadvantage of the departmental undertaking. The next topic we are going to see is public corporation. First we'll see the meaning, what is meant by public corporation. A public corporation is that form of public enterprise which is created as an autonomous unit by a special act of the parliament or the state legislature. So this public enterprise, the public corporation, it is created by a special act of the parliament or the state legislature. Since a public corporation is created by a statute, it is also known as a statutory corporation. That is, as I told you, this public corporation is created by a statute, that is a special act of the parliament or the state legislature. So it is called as, this public corporation is also called as a statutory corporation. So some of the example for this statutory corporation, public corporation, is Life Insurance Corporation of India, Oil and Natural Gas Commission, next the Indian Airlines and Air India International. All these are some of the examples of public corporations in India. Next, we'll see the features of public corporation. Special statute, separate legal entity, capital provided by the government, financial autonomy, management by board of directors, own staff, service motive, public accountability. Now we'll see one by one. The first feature of the public corporation is special statute. A public corporation is created by a special act of the parliament or the state legislature. So it is created by the special act of the parliament or the state legislature, and this act, it tells about the powers, functions and objectives of the public corporation, and it also tells about the relationship of the public corporation with the ministry as well as with the parliament or the state legislature. Next, separate legal entity. A public corporation is a separate legal entity with perpetual succession and common seal. So, this public corporation is independent of the government. So, it is formed by legal procedures of the government, and it for winding up also there are procedures, and it has also a common seal, and it has its own property. It can make any contract with the other corporation, and it can also file suits in its own name. The next feature is capital provided by the government. So, capital of a public corporation is given by the government or agencies controlled by the government. So, the public corporation gets its financial aid from the government. Next, financial autonomy. Public corporation creates its own budget and enjoys financial autonomy. So here, this public corporation, it enjoys financial autonomy. That is, it prepares its own budget, and also it has the power to whatever the earning got from the public corporation, it can be retained by the corporation and it can use it for its business. So it enjoys financial autonomy. Management by board of directors. So its management is vested in a board of directors appointed or nominated by the government. So the administration, the management is done by the board of directors who are appointed by the government. And next, there is no government interference in the day-to-day working of the corporation, because all the administrative works are carried on by the board of directors. Next, own staff. A public corporation has its own staff whose appointment are decided by the corporation itself. So here in a public corporation, it has its own staff and they are appointed, their remuneration and about their service condition all are fixed by the corporation itself. Service motive. The main objective of a public corporation is service motive. So its main motive is to give service to the public, and it is self-supporting. That is, it utilizes the earning, whatever earning from this corporation is utilized for its business. Next, public accountability. A public corporation has to submit its annual report on its working, which are audited by the Auditor General of India. So the public corporation has to submit its annual report to the Auditor General of India, and its annual report and audited accounts are presented in the parliament or the state legislature for the discussion. So the annual report is discussed in the parliament or the state legislature. The next topic we are going to see is advantages of public corporation. Bold management due to operational autonomy. Next, legislative control. Qualified and contented staff. Next, tailor-made statute. Not affected by political changes. Lesser likelihood of exploitation. Reasonable pricing policy. So these are the advantages of public corporation. We'll see one by one. The first advantage of the public corporation is bold management due to operational autonomy. A public corporation enjoys internal operational autonomy as it is free from government control. So the public corporation is free from government control, and its management is carried on by the board of directors, so they can take their own decision and they have the management skills also. So according to the business situation, they take the decisions. Next, legislative control. Affairs of a public corporation are subject to scrutiny by committees of parliament. So these public corporations are supervised, or they are scrutinized, they are inspected by the committees appointed by the parliament. So the press also always keeps an eye on these public corporations. So it also has a check on the practices or on the works of the public corporation, so that the public corporation management does not involve in any unhealthy practices. Qualified and contented staff. Public corporation offers attractive service conditions to its staff. They have motivation to work hard for the corporation. So this public corporation is able to appoint qualified staff, attractive qualified staffs with managerial skills. So because of their managerial skills, they are able to solve the industrial problems, and these staffs are motivated to work hard for the corporation. Next, tailor-made statute. So the special act created so that the corporation can function in a best manner to achieve its objectives. So the special act by which the public corporation is created, it contains about the powers, objectives, functions, and what is the relation of the public corporation with the ministry and the parliament or the state legislature. So this helps the corporation to function in a best way and achieve its objectives. Not affected by political changes. Being a legal entity, public corporation is not much affected by political changes. So the public corporation has a separate legal entity. So it is not affected by any change in the political condition. It keeps on working. Next, lesser likelihood of exploitation. The government nominates various representatives of board of directors from the labor, consumer, etc., leading to lesser likelihood of exploitation. So the members of the board of directors are nominated by the government, and these members are the representatives of various groups, for example, like labor, consumers. So because of that, there is less exploitation. The last advantage is reasonable pricing policy. A public corporation follows a reasonable pricing policy based on cost benefit analysis. So here this public corporation is of service motive. Already we have seen that its main objective is service motive. So the public are satisfied with the provisions of the goods and services which are produced by this public corporation. Disadvantages of public corporation. So what are the disadvantages? See, autonomy and flexibility only in theory. Misuse of monopolistic power. Rigid constitution. Low managerial efficiency. Problem of passing a special act. And the last one, clash of divergent interest. So we'll see one by one now. The first disadvantage, autonomy and flexibility only in theory. Autonomy and flexibility advantages of a public corporation exist only in theory. So we have seen that this public corporation is created by a special act of the parliament or the state legislature, and it is an autonomous unit. So, but this autonomy and flexibility just remains in theory only. In practical, there is a lot of intervention by the government officers and the ministers and other politicians. Next, misuse of monopolistic power. Public corporation often enjoys monopoly in their field of operations. So here we have seen that the main object of the public corporation is service motive. But in reality, if you see, there is a lot of consumers exploitation. Rigid constitution. The constitution of a public corporation is very rigid, and so it could not be flexible in its operations. So the constitution of the public corporation is very rigid. That is, the this corporation is created by a special act of the parliament or the state legislature, and it contains, in the special act, it contains the objectives, the rules and regulations according to which the public corporation has to work. So these rules and regulations are very rigid. It's not flexible. So it affects the public corporation. It is one of the disadvantage of public corporation. Next, low managerial efficiency. Often civil servants who have inefficient skills are appointed by the government board of directors. The workers are not efficient as such in private enterprises. So here civil servants, that is, who don't have the managerial skills, the knowledge about the business, they are being appointed in the board of directors by the government, and these workers, they are no match with the private enterprises, so they don't have the efficient managerial skills like that of a private enterprises. Next, problems of passing a special act. A public corporation cannot be formed without passing a special act. Hence, setting up a statutory company is very restricted. So, a public corporation, it is created by a special act of the parliament or the state legislature. So, this passing of a special act is of a difficult process. It takes a lot of time to pass the act. So as a result, the formation of a statutory company, that is a public corporation, is difficult. Next, clash of divergent interest. So clashes and conflicts may arise among the representatives of the board of directors. Thus, efficient functioning of the enterprise may be interrupted. So the board of directors, the officers, they are appointed by the government and they are from different groups, for example from labor, consumer, and there is always a clash and conflict between these representatives. As a result, it affects the smooth functioning of the public corporation. So these are all the disadvantages of a public corporation. Next, government company. Meaning, a government company is defined under Section 2 of 45 of the Companies Act 2013 as any company in which not less than 51% of the paid up share capital is held by the central government or by any state government or governments, or partly by the central government and partly by one or more state governments, and includes a company which is a subsidiary company of such a government company. So a government company, according to the Companies Act 2013, it is defined as, so the company which is not less than 51% of the paid up share capital, that is the central government investment in the company, government company, is not less than 51%, and this share capital is either held by the central government or by any state government or governments, or it is partly by the central government or partly by one or more state government. So it is called as a government company. Features of government company. Registration under the Company Act. A government company is formed through registration under Companies Act 1956 and is subject to the provisions of this act like any other company. So a government company is formed under the registration of Companies Act 1956 and it has to follow the provisions given in the act. So this provisions may sometimes not apply to the government company. So the central government has the right to apply these provisions with certain modification. Next, executive decision of government. A government company is created by an executive decision of the government without seeking the approval of the parliament or state legislature. So a government company can be formed without the approval of the parliament or the state legislature. It can be created by an executive decision also. Separate legal entity. A government company is a legal entity separate from the government. So as a public corporation, the government company is also a separate legal entity. So it can acquire property, it can make contract, and it can also file suits under its own name. Next, whole or majority capital provided by government. The whole or majority, at least 51% of the capital of a government company is provided by the government, but the revenues of the company are not deposited into the treasury. So here the whole or the majority, at least 51% of the capital of the government company is provided by the government. That is more than half or the full capital for starting a government company is provided by the government, and whatever income received from the earnings received from the government company is not deposited in the government treasury. Majority of government directors. Being in possession of a majority of share capital, the government has authority to appoint majority of directors on the board of directors of a government. So here in a government company, major shareholder is the government. So it has the authority to appoint majority of directors to the board of directors. Next, own staff. A government company has its own staff except government officials who are sent to it on deputation. So the government company has got its own staff. Next, free from procedural controls. A government company is free from budgetary, accounting and audit control applicable to government undertakings. So here the government company is free from budgetary, accounting and auditing control of the government. Accountability to the parliament or state legislature. The annual report of the government company is placed before the parliament or state legislature. So here the government company places its annual report before the parliament or the state legislature for its discussion. Next, advantages of government company. First one, easy formation. So a government company can be easily formed under the Companies Act just by an executive decision of the government. So this government company can be easily formed by the Companies Act and it is formed by an executive decision of the government. Next, internal autonomy. A government company can manage its affairs independently. It is relatively free from ministerial control and political interference in its day-to-day functioning. So, internal autonomy, that is, the government company is free from the ministerial intervention. So, it is free to carry on its day-to-day administrative works. Private participation. Through government company device, the government can avail of the management skills, technical know-how, and expertise of the private sector and foreign countries. So the government company can get the help from the private sector and foreign countries with regard to management skills or technical skills or expertise. So, for example, if you take the Hindustan Steel Limited, it has obtained the technical and financial assistance from USSR, West Germany, and UK for its steel plant at Bhilai, Rourkela, and Durgapur. So, it has got the right to get the help or technical or financial assistance from the foreign countries. Next, easy to alter. Objectives and powers of the company can be changed by simply altering the memorandum of association of the company without seeking the approval of the parliament. So here the powers of the company, the objectives of the company can be changed simply making a change in the memorandum of association. So the government company need not get the approval of the parliament. Next, discipline. The government company is subject to provisions of the Companies Act which keeps management of the company active, alert and disciplined. So here the government company works according to the provisions of the Companies Act, and because of that the management of the company is well disciplined, it is active and also alert. Next, professional management. A government company can employ professionally qualified managers because it has its own personal policies. So government company, they have got their own personal policies, and with that they can employ professionally qualified managers. That is, with managerial skills they can employ qualified managers. Public accountability. The annual report of the government company is presented to the parliament or state legislature. So, as I have told you already, the annual report of the company is presented before the parliament or the state legislature for discussion. So, these are the advantages of a government company. Disadvantages of government company. Board of directors packed with S-men. On the board of directors of a government company, there are government appointed directors, government being the major shareholder, who are the S-men of the government. So, in a government company, the major shareholder is the government. So, it appoints the majority of directors to the board of directors. So these directors, they are the S-men of the government. Whatever the government says, these directors accept it. So they are not able to run the company on a business manner. So there is interruption of the government officials in a government company. Autonomy only in name. Independent character of a government company exists only in name. So, in namesake only, the government company is of a independent and autonomous unit. But in reality, if you see, the government company has got a lot of interference by the ministers, by the politicians, and by the government officials. So, there is intervention in the day-to-day activities or the administration of the government company. Next, a fraud on Companies Act and Constitution. A government company is criticized as being a fraud on the Companies Act and on the Constitution. So the government company, if you see, it is created by the Companies Act. As per the provisions of the Companies Act, the government company has to run, but the central government has the right to make any modifications in the provisions of the companies, And one more thing, it need not get the approval of the parliament or the state legislature to create a government company. So it can be created on the executive decision of the government. So it is criticized as a fraud on Companies Act and on the Constitution. Next, fear of exposure. The management of the government company often gets demoralized and may not take initiative to come out with the implement something innovative. So here the annual report of the government company has to be presented before the parliament or the state legislature. So the working of the company is the activities of the company is exposed to the public by the press. So because of the fear, the management of the government company doesn't take any initiative to bring new innovation in the government company. Lack of expertise in deputationist. The key person of the government company are often deputed from the government departments. So the officials, they are deputed by the government from the government departments, and these officials, they lack expertise, they lack managerial skills. Because of that, the government company, the operation efficiency of the government company is lacking. Next, selfish functioning. The government company works neither for the government nor for the public at large. So here the government company doesn't care for the government or for the public. So mostly in the government company, the people, they serve the personal interest. Students will now see some of the examples of departmental undertakings, statutory corporations, that is public corporations, government companies. So first, departmental undertakings, post and telegraph, railways, All India Radio, Doordarshan, all these are examples of departmental undertakings. Next, statutory corporations, Food Corporation of India, Industrial Finance Corporation of India, Life Insurance Corporation of India, Unit Trust of India, State Trading Corporations. Next, government companies, Hindustan Machine Tools Limited, Steel Authority of India Limited, Hindustan Shipyard Limited. So these are some of the examples of government companies. In this lesson, we have learnt about what are the features, advantages and disadvantages of a departmental undertaking, statutory corporations and the government companies. Thank you, students.